Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Spilling the Tea on GovCon. I'm Teresa Moon, Director of Business Development for Parabilis. We provide a better financial partnership for government contractors that includes a line of credit to fund your growth. The purpose of this podcast is to assist small businesses with success in the federal marketplace by introducing them to industry experts and resources that they may not otherwise know about. Today, my guest is Robyn Card, Director of Small Business Relationships at General Dynamics Information Technology. For those of you keeping up, you know that GDIT has done a lot lately to really open up engagement with small businesses in the federal contracting market. So I thought it very appropriate and very timely to bring Robyn on and have her shed some light on this subject for our listeners. Hi, Robyn. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Teresa. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Now, those of our listeners that follow us regularly know that I am very active on LinkedIn, and that's how you and I connected. And I follow a lot of what you and your office has been doing to really engage in an intimate way with the small business market and shepherd people through the process of doing business with GDIT. And I thought it was very apropos to have you on, have you talk directly to people who could potentially become a part of your supply chain and welcome them to that process, because you're a great person and very easy to talk to, not intimidating. And I think that's the important part about this conversation, is just showing people it isn't scary. Robyn's great. And Robyn is out in front of GDIT all the time. You're at a lot of the same events that I'm at. Yes. And so if you could please introduce yourself to this audience, tell them a little bit about yourself personally, talk about your experience, which you have a lot of in government procurement and contracting, and then your role and responsibilities within GDIT.
Okay, so I have been the director of GDIT Small Business Office almost 3 years now. I came from a background in subcontracts administration, and contracts administration. I really enjoy working with the small businesses that were subcontractors on the contracts that I managed, and really enjoyed building relationships with them and helping to guide them through the actual award process. So the small business office position opened up a few years ago, and I thought this would be a good transition for me to continue that work with small businesses. And it turned out to be a lot more than I thought it would be. It's a lot more fun than I anticipated, because I do get to talk to a lot of different people, and I have a great team that works for me. I have 3 people on the small business office team, and we all really do have a heart for small business and helping them to succeed, either with GDIT or even, away from GDIT. So one of the first things that I had to learn about when I came over here, I was kind of ensconced in the subcontracts world, so I didn't really know a whole lot about GDIT as a company and a business unit under the General Dynamics corporate umbrella. So one of the things I had to do right away was to learn a lot more about GDIT, because I had to turn and educate small businesses about our company. So that has been a side benefit. Personally, this is actually kind of my second career. I come from a music education background. I'm a trumpet player, and I perform regularly in the Hampton Roads area where I live. So I was a band director, and I kind of brought a lot of that type of focus or viewpoint into this corporate world, and it seems to have transitioned very well. So
that's awesome.
It's great. So as a band director, you get used to taking people from where they are, whatever instrument they play, whatever level they're at, and then you try to, direct them to the next level. So, and then work together in a group to provide a good outcome in a concert or a performance. So those types of skills transitioned very well into this position. And so we basically try to help each company get from where they are to the next step in their development.
That is so great. This is exactly why I ask people to introduce themselves personally and not just talk about their professional life, because we never would have known this about you. And that is super exciting. And I definitely want to come and see you perform sometime. So we'll have to talk about it offline, because that would be so neat. I mean, wow. I love music. It provides a lot of joy in my life. And so that would be really neat to be able to see you in a trumpet performance. Very, very cool. And I think that alone right there, right? We're all humans, people doing business with other people. And I think that is the biggest common denominator that most business owners forget about. We're all relatively the same to a certain extent. And the things that differentiate us are what make us uniquely us, what make us cool. And I love learning that about you. So thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. And this industry can be quite intimidating, even people with the best capabilities, right? And the best intentions with utilizing those capabilities and putting them into practice. And so I think you being able to leverage a different side of your professional career and bringing those engagements into what you're doing with GDIT is super important, because you had to learn as well. Like you said, there was a learning curve there.
Yes. And I think, and I love what you're saying about remembering that we're human, right? There's a lot of people that approach GDIT, big, scary GDIT, but we're just people working for GDIT. And I'm fortunate enough to have a really good team, as I said, that has a heart for business. We want you to succeed. Even if it's not with us, it may not be possible to succeed with us now, but we can, through our weekly virtual chats that we have, we do provide mentorship and some education to businesses on how to become successful in the federal workspace.
I love that. I think a little bit of humility goes a long way. GDIT is among the very largest of the most recognizable primes in our country. And so I agree with you. I think people see it as this entity outside of, that human aspect of it, and that the people who work for the company really do make up what they've been capable of achieving over the years. And so I think that's a great reminder, so that people don't get so nervous and intense sometimes when they're dealing with these large primes. It's still just people. And so that's a great reminder, and I love that. But we are here today. The primary focus is to talk about some of the tips that you have for small businesses that are not just looking to do business with GDIT. To your point previously, is that some of the things that you guys employ in terms of tips for the small business market also apply to other primes as well. So let's get it started by talking a little bit about what GDIT's Small Business Office recommends in terms of approaching you all in doing business with you.
We have a couple of recommendations that we make to our small businesses that are looking to enter into our supplier pool. The very first thing we recommend is that you research who you're talking to, right? So you're a small business, you're going to your first big conference or maybe your fifth big conference, and you approach, there's a large prime there that has a booth, and there's friendly people there waiting to talk with you. Know something about the company before you start that conversation. And the reason being is we get approached by a lot of companies, and that's great. We want to be there. We want to be a resource. But one of the things we suggest that you target your customer base, right? And again, back to doing the research, go to the website and look at what we do, right? And I'll share a little information about GDIT with you right now. We have about 30,000 employees. We have over 400 customers worldwide. We have over 220 facilities, and we operate in over 30 countries. So that's a big company. And back to the human side, I'm one person, there's four of us in my office that are your conduit to those 30,000 employees, right? So if you target your customer, let's say, the Veterans Affairs, that helps me to narrow down the pool of candidates that I can connect you to, right? And so that's one of the first things that we recommend is do a little bit of research on your company and then have a targeted customer base for what you're doing. We in our weekly calls with small businesses, and we do have a weekly virtual chat. It's on Wednesdays at 1:00. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll get you a link to the meeting. It's just a general open session when small businesses can dial in. We go over some of the same information with them on the call, and you can ask questions. And so this is the same type of information that we share there. So the first step is to identify your customer. The second step is to research your customer, right? So if we're your customer that you want to target, go to our website and learn what we do. What do we sell to the government? And then how will you fit into what we sell to the government? And what do you know about that government customer? So in order to learn about the government customer, we recommend that you reach out to their small business office, their, let's hope I get this right, Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. We call them OSDBUs. But every agency, every federal agency has one. And their job is to provide small businesses with information on that agency. So that we recommend you build a relationship with that small business office and learn whatever you can about what they're doing. And then that kind of helps you gain an understanding of the agency and then how you would be able to fit within their upcoming opportunities and with GDIT. Mm-hmm. They will help you research pending opportunities, and then also you can go online. There's all kinds of websites out there for with federal information where you can do your research to find opportunities. I can tell you that most large primes, if we are working a contract, so we won a contract, let's say a year ago, most large primes, and I think it's safe to say this, they're probably going to go after that same contract in a few years, right? Because that's their bread and butter. We're working those contracts. Chances are we're probably going to go after the recompete. Most large primes do not share their pipelines because that's proprietary information. Mm-hmm. We don't want our competitors to know who's bidding, what we're bidding on, and they don't want us to know what they're bidding on. And, that's the whole nature of the competitive environment. But you can make some educated guesses, right? Yeah. And that's one of them. If we're working something, we're probably going to go after it again.
Right.
Yeah. So another thing that we once you've done your research and you've identified that opportunity in the customer, then we ask that you bring us a value proposition. So this is in addition to your capability statement. Mm-hmm. Those statements are very valuable, but and this is where it gets a little interesting. And you're probably like, why am I doing all the work? But this is the reality. Our business development people, they want you to tell them why we should work with them, right? Why we should work with you. And, and that I know some people that's surprising to them the first time they hear that, but we get approached by hundreds of small businesses, people, individuals wanting to work on contracts, as employees. So our business development people are constantly being bombarded by communications. Right. So one thing, the small business office, the service that we can provide to them and to the small businesses is we have a process where we try to guide you into writing that value proposition. We'll read it. Right? We're going to take a look at it and read it and make recommendations. And if something is missing, we're not doing that to be an obstacle. We're doing it because we're trying, whatever communications we send over to those BD folks, we want them to open and read, right? We don't want to be just another one of the hundreds of people that are bombarding them. I want them to, yeah.
I'm sorry. I hate to stop you there. I think this is important to note that what you're telling that the businesses and that are listening to us right now are a couple of nuggets that I pulled from our prior question and then leading into the value proposition is your research about what the mission of GDIT is important, because if you're not a good fit, you're wasting your time and their time. And
Yes.
so, and time is valuable, time is money. And so don't go after just because you see the flashing lights of a big prime that you think there's endless opportunities for you. There might not be. I mean, anyone who is high enough up, executive level or above at a business knows how annoying it is. And whether that's respectful approach or not, right? You could be the kindest person in the world, but if you're being offered services that are not of value to you constantly, it does become a nuisance to a certain extent. And it isn't disrespectful, right? Everyone's trying to, get after more business for their business, which is great. I get it a lot, right? I'm a very recognizable person within our company. I have businesses coming to me all the time trying to sell me something that's not appropriate toward what the objective of my company is. Would have been as simple as looking on our website just to see what kind of business we are. Looking at there's enough information on GDIT's websites for them to see, even though not everything's going to be out there about what they might be going after in the future. You can see what they're working on today to see if your services or products align with the mission that's already in place. Super important, number one. And then number two, that value proposition, that's the differentiator, right? That's what's going to say, this is why you may have a small business that you're currently working with, but when recompete comes up, think of us, because this is what separates us from what they do and why. And so maybe not even, it would be great if you'd get a value prop that didn't need several recommendations of how to make it even better. If they were paying so close attention, they would probably hop to the top of the heap. I got to imagine.
Definitely. And I know it takes a while for some companies because, small businesses, not a lot of people, being hit with a lot of stuff, setting up your HR, your financing, your all that other stuff. And then, your marketing program. And that can take some time to wade through all that. So we do, we do try to facilitate that by, providing, an easy template for them to fill out, which is basically tell us the name of the opportunity, who's the customer, what is the type of work that they're procuring. We are a mostly services company, right? We do provide, we do buy product in support of those services because it's IT, but we don't buy a whole lot of product, right? Just the product we need for the service. So we do a lot of staff augmentation. Don't do a lot of staffing because, and there's a fine line between those two because we have a staffing department, right? That's those 30,000 employees. A lot of them are internal staffing. So we don't need a whole lot of staffing. What we do need is staff augmentation that's specific to an opportunity or an award that's coming out, right? So back to the value proposition. So we've got the name, the customer, the type of work. We need to know the anticipated RFP date. And I'll come back to that in a second. And then your value proposition should include your relevant capabilities and your experience for the opportunity, any customer knowledge that you have, any customer intimacy. Do you know somebody in that space? And the extent of your knowledge. Have you read the opportunity? Do you know what it is? Do you know, in what stage of procurement they are? We don't need a whole lot of in-depth details, just because for those types of discussions, we'll want to put an NDA in place, a non-disclosure agreement to help protect you and to protect us. And then if it's a set aside, are you able to do more than 50% of the work, right? If you can't do more than 50% of the work, then we can't help you because we're a large. And if it's a set aside, that's not really for large companies, right? So, but I do want to go back to the anticipated RFP date. We are looking now at opportunities that will be released in 6 to 12 months, and in some cases 2 years, right? The reason being is we are a large company. We have a large pipeline, and we have a pretty thorough vetting process for the opportunities that we go after. So there are gates that we have to go through to get approvals as we go. We're not flexible like small businesses are. So we are literally teaming now for RFPs that'll be released in 6 to 12 months. So come early.
Right. I think that is an important indicator there as well, especially for businesses that haven't been engaged in the marketplace for very long, might not recognize. I make the comment often that in GovCon, it's the motto of hurry up and slow down, hurry up and wait.
Exactly.
So being aware that the timeline is that far out for the large businesses that you might want to engage with to be a part of their small business supply chain, getting involved early is important because the teams have already been established well before the contract has been awarded. So you're already behind the 8 ball if you're thinking along those lines. So definitely putting your name out there and engaging about things before recompete is important because those teams are established. And that's kind of where the conundrum ends up for a lot of businesses. They get discouraged because they feel like they're not able to break into that supply chain, but it is because of what they don't know about the process and less to do with the process that's in place itself. It's just, you got to know the route to navigate early.
Right.
Because you might be too late. And so I think that's important. I think also knowing that services-based, relationships are going to be more pertinent to your division of General Dynamics than a product-based. So people knowing that is a good indicator that you may not even need to go and do that research. You might not be a good fit.
And that's okay.
Right.
I mean, you just have to go find the right fit.
Absolutely. I do appreciate the fact of how much time you spend with it. I've heard a lot of stories from business owners who, don't hear anything back or have gotten, negative feedback or have just felt defeated of the whole process. And I can tell by the way you and your team engage and as much outreach as you do with your virtual chats, that isn't the case with GDIT. And I think that's important. I know, I'm on the executive board for the HubZone Contractors National Council. GDIT has been a great friend to that organization. And so I can testify to the fact that you guys do a lot to engage with the market in a very kind and thorough way. And so if someone does have a service that supports the mission of it, I encourage you to go and do that research because they are open to doing business with new businesses. And so I think it's a great place to start. So I'm so glad that we've had you to hear so they can see it firsthand. It's one thing for me to tell them, it's another to hear it directly from you. So I think that's great.
Well, the HubZone Council, they're a great friend to us as well because in IT services, the HubZone category tends to be difficult for us. It's a challenge. So we have a great partnership with them and with Michelle. So we do try to support the advocacy groups and as best we can because compliance, we are required to procure a certain percentage of dollars from small businesses. So, and being as large as we are and having, 400 customer locations, that's a lot of subcontracting plans.
Yep.
And which, again, going back to that value proposition, we're doing a lot of things in a lot of different places. So we really do need the small businesses to help identify, well, where would they best fit? Because then we can just point you to that person. We've been building this process externally to help advise small businesses, but we've also been marketing internally to to the personnel at GDIT to become trusted advisors to them, right? Which is again why we are a little picky on what we send to them because we want to keep that reputation. We want to make sure they're opening our emails, right?
I think that's great. And I think with that in mind, Let's discuss the importance of honesty and transparency regarding capabilities and resources, right?
Right.
This is super important for that objective.
Yes. Yeah. This is an interesting topic for me because in our VChats, the couple of years we've been doing it, we have we bring on guest speakers. We bring our business development people. We bring the OSDBUs. We bring advocacy agencies in to speak and just educate. And we've been educated along the way as well. And one of the things that our business development people have emphasized is the fact to be honest, right? We know you're a small business, right? You're coming into work with one of our program teams. They know you're small. You need to help us understand what you can do and then where we would fill in the gaps, right? There's nothing, it's a very negative thing when we bring on a small business who we have trusted, who has told us, yes, we can do A, B, and C, and they can really only just do A. So then B and C doesn't get done. Our customers looking at us going, hey, GDIT, what's going on? Because that's not your reputation, that's ours for not delivering. We're the responsible party. So, if we know ahead of time, we're able to fill in those gaps. And there's nothing worse for other small businesses for one bad apple to go in there and not be able to perform because they were less than honest with their capabilities. Staffing is make sure if you say that you can staff to a certain level, you need to be able to staff to a certain level, right? Yeah. Don't leave us hanging and I've seen it happen. The program leads will shy away from using a small business, and we don't want that to happen. We want them to utilize the small businesses.
Right. Well, they're only shooting themselves in the foot if they're not being open about what they can and can't do. And I think that's important. I think we should stick to what we know best and promote that. Sometimes staying in our lane is not a bad thing. And so I appreciate you drawing that out, because I think a lot of times I talk to small businesses and I say, well, what is it that your company does? And they'll say, well, whatever you need us to do. And I said, that doesn't sound very reassuring. Let's rewind a little bit. What can you do actually?
Right.
So, well, listen, I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and talk with our listenership. I think everything that you've said has been super valuable in terms of, even if it isn't a good fit for them to do business with GDIT, just moving forward, what are things that they can keep in mind for it? And so I'm very grateful, Robyn. I'm glad that you and I have gotten to know each other a little bit. So now when we see each other, we can, hang out. And I definitely am going to hit you up for one of your trumpet performances, because that sounds amazing.
Okay. Thank you so much for having us on. And
absolutely. We're going to keep up with you. These virtual chats are catching on like wildfire. And so, we definitely are going to look to have you back on in the next couple of months in the year, just to give a refresh of what's going on with you all. And again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Great. And thank you all for joining us. As always, we pride ourselves on sharing the most insightful and exciting people and information to help you better navigate your GovCon journey. If you like what you heard today, you can see all of our past podcasts, which are archived on our YouTube channel by the same name. Stay tuned for all of our future guests in the coming months as we help you grow to great heights in this year ahead. I'm Teresa Moon, and this is Spilling the Tea on GovCon. Have a great day, my friends.